Hello, my name is Zev Goldberg, and I am the rabbi of Young Israel of Fort Lee in Fort Lee, New Jersey, and it is my pleasure to share some words of Torah related to Parshat Bo. In Parshat Bo, the Jewish people received their first mitzvah as a nation. The Torah tells us, HaChodesh Hazel Lachem Rosh Chadashim Rishanhu Lachem L'Chodshei Hashanah. And from that point onward, the Jewish calendar has really been the bedrock of the Jewish experience. I'd like to share a Dvar Torah related to the names of the Jewish month, because even though the Torah identifies the Jewish months in terms of the first month, the second month, the third month, so on and so forth, we know that we generally speak about the months in terms of the names of the months. Nisan, Iyar, Sivan, so on and so forth. We just celebrated Rosh Chodesh Shvat. And the Ramban explains the reason that we use the names of the months as we do is because when the Jews were in the exile after Churban Bayis Rishon, we acculturated and we picked up the names that the Babylonians used for their months. So the names of the months that we have, Nisan, Iyar, Sivan, so on and so forth, are essentially a derivative of the Babylonian names that were given. And the Ramban further explains that we kept those names even after we returned to Eretz Yisrael with Ezra, as a way of expressing our hakaras hatov to the Ribono Shel Olam for redeeming us from the exile and bringing us back into the land. That's the way the Ramban explains the reason that we still call the Hebrew months by the Babylonian names. I think there's another lesson to be learned here based on the insight of Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky. Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky in Emes Yaakov frames the issue in a different way. Rav Yaakov writes that when the Jewish people came back from Galus Bavel, so many people were very excited, but there were some who realized that even though the second Beis Hamikdash was built, it was a far cry, a mere skeleton of what the first Beis Hamikdash was. The grandeur of the first Beis Hamikdash was really absent from the second Beis Hamikdash. In fact, the pasuk in Ezra actually reads, "V'rabim mehakohanim v'halavim ra'ashei havos hazikenim asher ra'u es habayis harishon biyasdo zeh habayis beinehem bochim b'kol gadol." And many of the priests and Levites and the heads of the fathers' houses, old men who had seen the first temple when its foundation was laid, when they saw this temple with their eyes, were weeping with a loud voice. And we know that the Mishnah Maseches Yuma even lists 5 critical items that were present in the first Beis Hamikdash but were absent from the second. And as such, Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky explains as follows, that when the Jews came back and built the second Beis Hamikdash, they wanted to make sure that everyone understood that as wonderful as it was to be back in Eretz Yisrael, life was not in its ideal form. The Giloi Shechina, the revelation of Hashem's presence, that was felt during the first Beis Hamikdash was really absent during the times of the second Beis Hamikdash. And as a way to remind the Jew that there is still more to yearn for, so they kept the names of the Babylonian months in order to be a reflection point for the Jew. Every time the Jew mentions the name of the month, we're still using the Babylonian names because even though we have a Beis Hamikdash, it's not the way that it's meant to be. There is a dimension of Hashem's presence which is still lacking. And that is why we still keep the Babylonian names for the months until today. I think this idea has a great deal of relevancy for Rabbanim, and the truth is for American Jewry at large, because, and I don't want to discriminate against Canada, sorry Rabbi Kropkin, but in general, we feel very safe. We feel that life is very good in the Galus, and sometimes we may forget that there is more to strive for. We may forget that the ideal situation of a Ribono Shel Olam's presence that is felt more palpably than it is today, that's still what we yearn for. We have not yet reached home plate. And as such, every time we read Parshat Bo, every time we're Mevorchim Rosh Chodesh, it's an opportunity to reflect on the fact that there is still more to daven for, there is still more to yearn for. And that's the message embedded in HaChodesh Hazel Lachem, but in particular in the Babylonian names of the months that we still use. Let me end off with a very cute little story that I shared with my congregation that I think is a very touching ending to this point. The story is actually about a camel. Once there was an adolescent camel that would pose questions to its mother incessantly, as all children naturally do. "Mother," the young camel would ask, "why do we have a hump perched on our backs?" Mother replied, "My child, these humps prevent hunger and thirst as we trek through our long journey through the desert. We store rations of water inside our humps to quench our thirst." "But mother, why do we have long eyelashes?" "Oh son, those are there to keep the sand in the desert from ruining our eyes during sandstorms. This protection allows us to keep traveling." "And what about our awkwardly shaped feet?" inquired the young camel. "Aha," said the mother. "They support our legs from sinking into the soft sand. This enables us to walk more easily and quickly." Finally, frustrated and confused, the young camel cried out, "So mother, what are we doing in the Bronx Zoo?" It's true, we're all in the Bronx Zoo. We all have the beautiful gifts of the Torah that allow us to connect with Hashem, but ultimately we're still in the Bronx Zoo. We have yet to reach the ideal, the pinnacle of our existence, and that leaves us with much more to daven for. Bye-bye.